Hi, I'm Levy Beranbaum, and I have two great muffins for you today. Believe it or not, this is one of them. This is a savory muffin, and it's studded with Gruyere cheese, so I've called it the stud muffin. The other one is a blueberry muffin, not too sweet, and they're both great for breakfast or brunch. Baking muffins is really usually very easy, but there are some special techniques that I can show you that will make your muffin baking better than ever. So join us for baking magic. We're making blueberry muffins today, and here's a way to make them really extra special. Using fresh lemon zest, which is the yellow portion of the lemon where all the wonderful oils reside, and a special sugar crunchy topping. I'm using a microplane grater, which only takes the yellow portion because the white, the pith, is bitter. And it holds it right up in that little section, so it makes it really easy to prepare. The first thing I do when I start baking is I preheat the oven. And in this recipe, it's going to be 375 degrees, so we want it to preheat for at least 20 minutes. The next step is to prepare the pans. I like to use liners for my muffin pans to make sure they come out really easily and whole. And plus, what I can do is, if I want to store some of them in the freezer, it keeps them extra fresh to have the foil there and around half of it, and I wrap the rest with plastic wrap. So I'm going to grease and spray the little liners, and I do it separately because if I did it on the pan, it would get all over the pan, and what happens is that it gunks onto the pan. I'm sure you've all had that happen. So just get it ready, and then you can start mixing the batter. Now, the reason that this is called a quick bread is because not only is it quick to make, but it's also really made without anything that's going to take time, such as yeast. It's made with chemical leavening, otherwise known as baking powder, or in this case, baking soda. So I start by weighing the flour, because I always find that the most accurate and quick. And in this case, I'm using bleached all-purpose flour. And I want here 1 cup, which is 4 3/4 ounces when you're using all-purpose. Okay, we need a little bit more, 4 3/4. I like to do it in this little coffee filter because that way, if I have too much or too little, I can easily take it out, and I can also easily add it to the mixture. Now I'm ready to mix the batter. And you'll see this only takes seconds. Unlike a cake batter where I do all the dry ingredients together and then add part of the liquid with the butter, I start with a basic creaming method that you're all familiar with, the butter and the sugar. And you can do this by hand with a wooden spoon or with a hand mixer. I always start on low because, as you know, it sprinkles right out of the bowl if you start a beater on high speed. And this is creamed together just till light and fluffy. And then it's going to get much creamier after I add the egg and the vanilla. Pure vanilla extract. After it's smooth and creamy, I can start adding the sour cream and the flour. The reason that I use the sour cream is because it makes a more acidic batter, as does the bleached flour, and that helps the blueberries to suspend. Even a large blueberry can suspend in an acidic batter. And also, I love the taste of sour cream in a blueberry muffin. I've made them with buttermilk too, and it's good. You can use equal parts, but sour cream is more mellow. In fact, sour cream is probably my favorite liquid to use in a cake or a quick bread. And at this point, I like to fold it in because since I'm not using cake flour, since I'm using the creaming method, you can get a tough product if you beat too much. You don't have to wait until all the flour is incorporated, just until you've mixed some of it, and then the rest of the sour cream and the rest of the flour, and then you have to mix it until you can't see any flour. I usually add the lemon zest along with the eggs, but look, I forgot. I'm sure this has happened to you, and it's just a quick bread. So add it any time that you suddenly remember that it's still on the counter. But remember to add it because it makes such a difference to the taste of the blueberry muffins. Okay, now I'm adding the blueberries. Now, generally, I like a blueberry about this size. But look, this one is huge, and it still is going to suspend in the muffins. So you don't have to be afraid of that. The way to get the batter into the muffin cups, you can either spoon it in, or if you have an ice cream scoop, particularly a small one, it goes even faster. This is something kids love to do. And you usually have to help it along with your fingers a little. And this makes enough for 6 standard-size muffins. And a muffin is nice when it's a little craggy on the top. If you've overmixed it, it will be smooth. So don't try to smooth it out, because that's part of the beauty of the muffin. And I usually go back and fill it up to the top, because it's always hard to tell in the beginning, but if you've made them too big, you can steal some away from one and put one in the other one. And what's really great is that you can make these. It's so fast to make. It only takes about 25 minutes to bake. So if you can get all your preparation done the night before, take it out first thing in the morning, bake it, and have warm blueberry muffins for breakfast. And now we're going to dust the top with the topping that's going to make it crunchy. And that's simply sugar and fresh nutmeg. The nutmeg doesn't make it crunchy. The nutmeg gives it an extra special flavor, but I like to go lightly on the nutmeg. And I use about 3/4 teaspoon of sugar because the beauty of these is that it's not too sweet. Put it in a little strainer, hold it over the tops, and just stir with a spoon, or you can hit the side, depending on how coarse your strainer is. And that way it evenly coats the entire top and is crunchy. And now with the nutmeg, and fresh nutmeg is so much better freshly grated than when you get it and have it sit on your spice shelf for what can turn out to be quite a few years before you remember that it's that old. But these days it's readily available, and depending on how much you like, just a little grating does it. So we're going to bake them in the middle of the preheated oven for around 25 minutes. Start checking at 20. And as soon as a cake tester comes out clean or they pop up, take them out and unmold them right away, because they're little, so you don't want them to continue baking. And here they are, still warm, and you can just serve them in their containers or open them up like a little plate, because these foil containers actually make a little design. And just to show you how lovely the inside is, you can see the blueberry did not sink, and look, the blueberries are throughout the entire blueberry muffin with a beautiful texture. And the top is nice and crispy. You can almost hear it. If you like, you can arrange them in a basket. And there you have the blueberry muffins. So don't forget, what makes a great blueberry muffin, at least my idea of a great blueberry muffin, is lemon zest, sour cream in the batter, and a crunchy sugar and slightly nutmegged topping.